Hi guys, and welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV. My name's Michelle.
And my name is Nina, and welcome back to another episode of Carefree Queens, where we will be discussing Chelsea. Even though we're not playing at the moment, there is still a lot of things to talk about, touch upon, give our opinions and views on. So tune in for another cool video, guys, where we'll be talking about the Champions League, the biggest headline in recent days, Thomas Tuchel, head coach of Bayern Munich, some of our Chelsea players in the international break and their performances, what stood out, who hasn't, who's played, and yeah, just another chill out episode, guys. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, comment down below, and let's get straight into it.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, biggest headline. Were you shocked, or did you kind of see it coming?
I just thought to myself, of course, Chelsea has to have the most kind of, I don't even know who has written our kind of future and our fate, but I almost feel like it's a fairy, well, not a fairy tale, but like a storybook. Like, what are the chances that we drew Real Madrid, who, by the way, I did think we would draw them. I think that, the rivalry is yet to be kind of settled. We beat them, they beat us. It's the decider. However, then we found out that if we were to beat Real Madrid, we're then faced with either Bayern Munich or Man City, depending on who got through. However, now, if Bayern Munich do beat City, then we will be facing Thomas Tuchel, the man that won us the Champions League in 2021, had an absolutely phenomenal season and won us trophies, took us to finals. And now we will be facing the man that took us to glory. He has no doubt got the minerals, to be in that position. He's played back-to-back finals. He's won one. And, here he is. Funnily, ironically, they beat PSG were beat by Bayern Munich in that final before ours. So he then went to the final again, we played Man City, won the Champions League, and now we could potentially, well, he is going to face Pep again against Man City, and then he could potentially face us. It just blows my mind a little bit how crazy football can be sometimes. But
absolutely.
To answer your question, was I surprised? Yes, I was. I almost thought it was fake news, the first post that I saw. And it's not to think that he isn't deserving of a job like that, because to be head coach of a team like Bayern Munich, who's been very successful in recent years, competes very well in Champions League as well, doesn't lose games easily, is the opposing team that you don't really want to face or draw. It's that team that you almost kind of are a little bit scared to face. But nevertheless, to win the Champions League, you've got to beat the best teams, and Bayern Munich is among those teams. So to face them, Graham Potter versus Thomas Tuchel, so recently after we've sacked him, is going to be something, I don't know. Were you shocked?
I kind of saw it coming, but not the exact club. I was kind of waiting for him to join one of the bigger clubs, him getting back into the game. I think most of us knew he pulled the plug once he was sacked from Chelsea. It was a massive shock to his system, etc. And fans who met him in Asia said that he was still struggling to speak about it, because it was hard on him. And now we've seen him in more, he went to a tennis match, etc. He's been more, all right, he's got that aside. And I just don't know. I was just kind of just waiting for him to be announced in a club, but I wasn't expecting Bayern. But I mean, my God, what? Do you know what? How privileged. I would love to. Didn't even know how to put it. I just think whoever got him was going to be one hell of a lucky club, and now Bayern has him. And I mean, Bayern has a rep for sacking players left and right, and yeah, I just hope he's gonna do well, to be honest, because I really, really, really liked him to the point where I actually got his 2 initials tattooed on my body. I wish the best for him. So don't really know if I was surprised. I was just was just not expecting Bayern, but I was expecting him to show up at one of the bigger clubs eventually.
Let me just get this straight. You have, so for whoever doesn't know, Michelle has a tattoo of TT on her ankle.
Yeah.
How crazy would it be if we versed Bayern Munich in the semi-final and got knocked out, and you have the man tattooed to your body? You can't really grieve him because, you know, we still love him, like you said, and we wish him all the best. You know, he's back to Germany. He's familiar with the Bundesliga. You know, he's managed a German side before. He, you know, he's quite comfortable essentially, and we know that Thomas Tuchel is a man that can get comfortable quickly, regardless of where he is. We saw him come in sort of in the most vulnerable time for us when we were struggling in the Premier League, you know, took upon Premier League fixtures, took upon Champions League fixtures, finished off Frankie's job from the group stages earlier in the year, and he took us to the final. Not only did he do that, but he won us the Champions League as well. So this is a man that doesn't really take much time to integrate himself, to settle. He doesn't need pre-seasons or, you know, testing out all the waters. He is somebody that's got the talent and the mindset to really bring out the best in a winning team. And Bayern Munich is a winning team as well. And
absolutely.
I think it's also quite ironic, you know, because Bayern Munich's next fixture, I believe, in the Bundesliga is Borussia Dortmund. So, you know, a side that we just, you know, knocked out the Champions League, to me, it's absolutely crazy. Obviously, he's going up and facing his former team in his first game against them. And it's just like, well, you know, Thomas Tuchel is a man that deserves all the best. I have nothing but respect. And I'm sure that on the most part, no matter who was Tuchel out, most Chelsea fans will agree with me that, you know, he's a man that did an absolutely phenomenal job, brought us exciting stuff, football, running down the sidelines. He was energetic. But, you know, that's something that's in the past now, although it's not quite in the past, really, is it? Because he could very much be around the corner coming back to Stamford Bridge, which is insane to think. So for those of you who thought we were done with Thomas Tuchel, I don't think we are. I hope we're not as well, because, I mean, if Man City do get knocked out by Bayern Munich, of course, I want us through. I want us to do our best job at least trying them out. And if we do beat Real Madrid, then I think we've got what it takes. You know, we've knocked out Borussia Dortmund. We will knock out Real Madrid. But if we do, then that is, you know, why not? Then we can kind of look forwards a little bit more, be a bit more excited. I know there's a lot of people that don't expect much, and they pretty much kind of considered us knocked out already. But we didn't talk too much about the UCL draw. But what is your opinion on kind of how we're doing, how we could potentially do, and with everything we've discussed and who we could face potentially? What is your thoughts surrounding that?
Right. So I was in England. I was actually in Cobham when we drew Real Madrid, and on the train, I posted on my story that I just didn't want to draw City, and I just didn't want to draw Real Madrid. And there I was on the platform watching the draw, and we pull out Real Madrid, and then they pull out us afterwards. And it had to be like, I don't really know. To be fair, I just wanted it Napoli, and I mean, the chances of getting Napoli weren't the biggest. And like you said, it's the best team that wins. So might as well do it the tougher way. I can't really make up my mind about our team at the moment, to be honest, because I don't want to say we're shit, but we're not performing in the Prem. And I already thought we were out of the Premier League when we played Dortmund. I didn't see us go through. I didn't see us go through, especially after that performance I saw when I was in Germany and they played them. So I just hope we're gonna pull a Dortmund on them, to be honest. I think you know this. I don't really want to get my expectations up, as boring as it might sound. I would love to have a very controversial opinion that was going to get everybody excited and get the talk going. But I can't make up my mind about this team. It's literally, you can't, what can you expect? I don't even know what the result is going to be this Saturday. And like, it's literally just all over the place. You can't really... Yeah, so I don't know. I wasn't pleased about drawing them. I had hoped for an easier team, but I mean, like you said, we've won against them before. We've also lost against them before, so I genuinely think it's a 50-50. We'll see. We'll see how the guys are feeling on the day, isn't it? That literally comes down to them and how they're performing on that.
But you're right though, because it is kind of how they are on the day. Do you know what I mean? It's the fact that, you know, we do so crappy in the Premier League fixtures. You know, we get draws against other mid-table teams that are even below us, and then we look forward to the UCL draw where we're playing teams like Borussia Dortmund, Real Madrid.
Yeah.
But if we turn up on the night and, you know, the mentality is there, the support is there behind the fans, and just everyone is up for it, then we can work miracles, because that is just how our club rolls. You know, essentially that's what you get. You get a draw against Everton, and then you get a win against Real Madrid potentially. So that is something that we're used to seeing.
How mad is that? Like, how mad is that?
But it is, and that's how it works, and that's why our fate for the rest of the season could potentially be so, you know, ambiguous and so unpredictable, because we just don't know what could come potentially. But at least there's something to be excited about. You know, this whole unpredictability, could we, would we, is essentially kind of a better feeling or a better attitude to the one that's we're crap, we're 10th, nothing's going for us, which could potentially... And is the reality of it when you look at kind of the position in the Premier League, you know, how we did in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, or rather, shall I say, how we didn't, because we didn't get very far. But essentially, when you look back at all of that, and then you look forward and you see we're still in the Champions League, we're through to the quarterfinals. But is this something that only Thomas Tuchel, you know, could have done with us? And is this too far of a stretch for Potter to face Real Madrid, you know, the team with the most and biggest, largest kind of history in the Champions League, with such great success, such a successful pedigree, with great fans? You know, we're going to play at Bernabeu before we play at Stamford Bridge. That is also a very daunting thing to think about. So it really is how we are on the night. And is Potter going to be up for it? If Potter really, like we have just sat here and taken it all in, how this could potentially unfold going forward, if Potter sits down and thinks about how this could potentially unfold and he doesn't get hyped up from it, then we're a little bit doomed, because, you know, a manager of a high class loves a challenge and loves to, you know, to experiment with things and to, you know, look forward and to make fans believe when there is nothing worth believing, essentially. So if Potter has got the ability to do that, and he brings out all those players and he selects his squad carefully, you know, he makes the right substitutions, he doesn't rush or underestimate a game, because Real Madrid is the last game you want to be, you know, making any experiments and risks with. We will see, won't we? But no, that brings me on to what I want to talk about, the players, right? So obviously we know I'm going to bring back Mudryk. Mudryk is in our Champions League squad. You know, he's someone that didn't get much playing time. We could potentially be looking for him to play, because obviously, you know, he's already had some successful moments in the Champions League early in the group stages, regardless whether he was a blue or not. He is somebody that could potentially get involved for us. He played obviously for Ukraine the other day against England. Probably didn't have the best performance, but still had moments of brilliance. But obviously England were also a very good side. You know, we dominated the first half. We were kind of put the game to bed essentially by the beginning of the second half. Madueke as well. Me and Michelle, as you guys have known, if you've been watching our episodes,
do we just turn this episode into like a fan club for him instead?
But no, Michelle and I, like, we've truthfully and honestly been talking about Madueke and Mudryk for the start of this, you know, whole kind of since they arrived, really. We've been banging on about them, and for a reason. And yes, Madueke played against an under-21 team, but he put on a freaking good performance, coming straight off the bench, 20 minutes, 2 assists and a goal. I mean, if that's not to praise, and if that's not to tell you what his raw potential looks like, what his ability looks like, what if somebody trained him well and, you know, he was integrated into the first team,
imagine him under
what
Tuchel.
That could be.
Yeah,
and what have you thought about Madueke? I mean, I know I don't really need to ask you because you've already put your opinion out there, but
I'd love to.
We've been crying. Go for it.
Absolutely, and I think it comes down to mentality, and we spoke about this the last episode as well. That football's physical, absolutely, but I'd argue it's it's 50-50. I think you need to be mentally strong. I think you need to be able to pick yourself up. I think you need to be able to push yourself when you don't have anyone to push you, which I think
Mm.
Potter is lacking a bit. But I genuinely, I think Nani's gonna be the next. Like, I just his mentality towards the challenge, and he's so young. And I watched him speak in an interview about his move to PSV, and even his mentality back then, why he wanted it to move. Like, it's just it's very, very, very admirable. Like, he's young, and he has this top mentality. So I really like him, and like you said, he makes the most out of the minutes he's on. And I think it's once again comes down to the manager. Some managers you play better under than others. It's a bit like Timo, isn't it? That he
Mm.
was performing way better with the German side rather than with us, and brings me on to CH as well. And Pulisic, we have a few players that just they deliver way better when they're with the national team. And I think it comes down to a few things. Mentality again. I think even though it might be sad to admit, I think that they might be more proud to represent their country rather than our club, because it just hasn't been, to know, for several reasons. Maybe it could be down to the coaching staff, the way they play, like multiple things. And it's not a new thing to us, is it, that some players
Mm.
just deliver with the national team rather than our club?
I couldn't help but smile when you said that, because when you say that some don't perform for their club as they do for the national team, the first names that spring to mind are Pulisic and Ziyech right off the bat. Those are, shall I say, coincidentally or not coincidentally, linked with moves away from Chelsea. They have been for the past year or so. It's just been a matter of when and where. Ziyech put on an absolutely phenomenal performance in the World Cup earlier. It took Morocco to a very, fast stage in the tournament, put up brilliant moments of football. Came back to Chelsea, didn't offer the same. So you kind of sit there and you think, right, is it a case of, are you unhappy here? And we know for most part he probably is. He hasn't been given the most playing time. He's not been a regular starter. He has been neglected. He's got reasons of his own, but I've always had problems with his attitude as well, because he seems a lot more up for it to play for Morocco. And I suppose, you can't blame him. It's probably his national team. You kind of get a different boost from that. But I don't see the same attitude displayed for Chelsea when you're losing a game, getting that aggravation, that hunger to succeed. And Pulisic the same. Pulisic scores goals for USA whenever he goes off on a break. Doesn't do the same at Chelsea, but yet these are wingers that get more playing time than new wingers that we've brought in, for example. And potentially that is what is stopping them, the wingers that we brought in. I'm thinking Mudryk, because obviously Pulisic got a start over Mudryk. You're benching those players, who have shown passion, who have shown a desire to play, are worth a lot of money, which you also got to take into consideration at the end of the day. But instead, you're starting players that haven't been regular starters for a while, don't really show much in terms of scoring, goal contribution, etc. But you're prohibiting those players like Madueke and Mudryk from coming on playing, those who do well internationally and do well for their club as well. So we have to ask us some questions. And obviously, I'm sure Potter watched Madueke's match that time, and he probably took some notes and thought, right. And it's not to say throw him in the deep end straight away, start him 6 games and start him every game. No. But find a way to integrate him slower, give him some more minutes. 5 minutes at the end of a game isn't really, beneficial in any sort of way, not for his self-esteem, not for his confidence, not for his mentality. And like you said, Madueke's had the right attitude right from the start. He came into potentially one of the worst times, while the club was going through several defeats, streaks of defeats. A lot of criticism was thrown to the manager. It was just a tough time for him to come in as a new and as a young player with such raw potential, to be benched, but to also struggle and to still have, some of that mentality to really fight to earn his spot, fight to learn, fight to train to become a better player, to be a regular starter. So to have that mentality at such a young age, when you're getting not that much playing time is still really crucial. People said, okay, we need a decent player, not good mentality. But that comes with it. It's a great starting point because, like you said, if the mentality is not there, you're not going to prosper as a football player. No matter how good your talent is, if you don't have the right mentality, you won't. It's period. That is the truth. That is how football works. So yeah, I mean, some good things to take away from that break. Obviously, we're excited to see Chelsea play at the weekend. We're playing Aston Villa at home. It's going to be an interesting game. I mean, every game from here on is interesting to me because it means I get to see if we will draw in typical style, if we will perhaps score a goal, which we've been doing a little bit more of in recent games, or if we're going to endure another defeat, which I hope is not the case, Chelsea, because you will be delivering us some fantastic stuff because we have missed you over this break, right? Am I right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we spoke briefly about this before we started to record, and I just want to touch upon one player. It's not even linked to Chelsea, but I am Danish, however, and I do follow the national team. And we brought in a young player named Rasmus Højlund, and he's 20 years old.
I couldn't pronounce his name, by the way, so don't ask me.
He's 20 years old, and he is a proper number 9. I think I know he's scored more goals than he's appeared for the national team. 2 games, 5 goals, absolutely. First game, a hat-trick. Literally was all over the goal. And I couldn't help myself but post that that's a number 9 you want to bring in. Fun facts, he is looking for a new agent, and a lot of big clubs are having their eyes on him at the moment. And I just hope we're among one of those big clubs because he can score goals, and that's what we're lacking. Like you said, it's a miracle if we score 2 goals, and we have a lot of brilliant playmakers, but I would that was just a bit of a side note because I am Danish, however, and we have been watching football during the national break, and he's just phenomenal. I'd love to see him start in
no, that's great. That's great. And speaking of young strikers, Datro Fofana started and captained Ivory Coast under 23s, and he also found himself on the score sheet. We haven't seen much of him. We saw a little bit though, and we saw him. Did he play against Tottenham? Am I wrong for thinking that he played against Tottenham? I can't quite recall right now, but he put on an absolute great performance. He was dribbling the ball up into spaces. We saw some very intriguing moments from him, I'd say. It was questioned whether we'd send him out on loan, whether, he is going to stay with us. We're going to work him for a little bit. Essentially, are we going to build a future team around him? Because obviously he's here for a while, a very long while. So we will see him kind of potentially get some playing time. But again, someone who's coming in with a real ask. We bought him from a club that, it wasn't linked to us or anything like that. We didn't have an idea that we will be bringing him in. He was among the first of our signings towards the end of December. So again, like you said, this is young talent. This is kind of potential. If we are looking forward, Bowley's making a secret. He's not making it a secret. It is no secret to anyone that Bowley is looking at those youngsters and he is looking to build around them in the future. That is potentially our future. So yeah, maybe we need to be patient with our new signings, our younger signings, because they are here for a long time. There's no need to rush them. They will obviously get their playing time. Obviously, we're looking to offload a lot of players in the upcoming transfer window as well. So things will come together. We've got a lot right now. We've got a big squad. We've got a squad of loads of quality. It's hard to, gel it from an immediate start. This is going to be a long-term project and we're seeing more and more of it. Obviously, Potter has been out of his depth. Is it to say that he will be able to prosper in the long run? Is he going to be able to build on that? We are yet to see, but that is something that's interesting. That is something that we have to wait around for because as it has been made crystal clear, he's not going anywhere, at least not now.
No, it doesn't look like that. Like you said, you can't really remember what game Fofana started in last game he started, and that's saying something, isn't it? he hasn't really been played that much, and when he has been playing, he's been looking really promising, and I even think we've been raving a bit about him as well. We'll see. I hope it's gonna add up eventually, because we are seeing glimpse, but do you think it's going quick enough? Do you think we're gonna? Do you know what I'm getting at? Like, there is progress, but is it fast enough?
Well, that's the thing, because fans haven't been happy with how slow things have been. And I mean, you can't really blame them. You know, you want to see some results so that you know that you're trusting at least a substantial process. There hasn't really been anything that has shown us that, except the fact that we are through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, perhaps. And even that is something. You know, Potter hasn't played Champions League football before. You know, he's only had little experience in managing his former clubs. Yeah, of course he did fantastic things with Brighton, but people are arguing that Brighton are a mid-table team, but now we're a mid-table team. So it's hard to say unless things turn around quickly and we're winning every game from here on, and April is our month. As much as I'd love to believe that, there is still a lot of work and progress that needs to be made. So I say we just sit back, relax, look forward to all our fixtures. There's plenty of intriguing games coming up in April, back to back, through and through. We're going to be very, very overhauled. So yeah, I think that's a good way to wrap it up, Michelle.
Absolutely.
I think we spoke about as much as we could regarding obviously the break and what to look out for, what's interesting. But as much as things are a shit show right now, there's still good things to look forward to. And that's always what I'm hanging on to, always hanging on to that future and what it could be. But again, thank you so much, guys, for listening today. Like I said, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned. Loads of videos are coming out on the channel. And again, yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
Cheers. Thank you for watching, guys.